because when I read it, I kind of thought like it was moving waves of snow, but when I looked it up, it was just like waves of snow that were like still there. So we have a video of some pictures of them and a picture.
Okay, so you would like me to show which first here?
The video, please.
Okay.
I found that video really fascinating because the only difference with them is they were traveling while it was snowing and it was windy, so this made their conditions of traveling really hard. So my question was, how do their ways of traveling differ when they were facing the sastrugi from how they would normally travel? So I mainly focused on paragraphs 1 and 2. So
Which text?
7.
Generally, if we want to participate in the discussion, we would raise our hand, not shout things out. Facilitator.
Who's there? Sastrugi.
Is it like a storm?
No, it's waves of snow that have been built up because of waves that have caused formations that are hard to travel through. So one of my details was in lines 7 through 8. It was there was no use for forerunners because so the forerunners would normally go ahead and like scout what the conditions were, but because these conditions were so hard and it was snowing and windy, they had to use a different method, which was Hansen going ahead with his dogs. So they would normally send people ahead, but they couldn't do this in this weather condition. My next detail was in line 17, so that would be on the second page. So it was, so it said, by keeping in the wake of them, we could see the irregularities. So this means like normally they wouldn't stay behind the sledges because they could easily go out of control or something. And if we could bring up the picture now, please, because it has a picture of a man here with the sledge. So this puts in perspective how big the Sastrugi is, and this is a more advanced type of sledge that we use today, but they would have like a wooden one. So they would, and it would be pulled by dogs. So they would be following behind this, which they would normally not do, because they would have forerunners going ahead and stuff. So my next detail is in line 31, which is in the second paragraph. So they talked about some kind of overwhelm, which is how they would travel in a normal condition. So they were saying that the dogs went ahead, which they normally would. Yes, Ms. Delaney, number 7? What?
What line?
31.
Okay.
So they're saying that sometimes the ski went over well, which is talking about how they would normally travel, because this is the next day, December 15th. So they couldn't do this with the Sastrugi because of the way that they were shaped and stuff, so they would not travel over well. So all these details, would anyone like to say how they're connected? Okay, Jarrett?
They all say how the weather's bad.
Yes.
Now, like, there's harsh conditions.
Good. Gavin?
Like reasons why they can't like travel in Sastrugi.
Very good. I put, they show how they did it and why they did what they did to face the Sastrugi. Let's see. So does anyone have any questions? Jared?
Can Sastrugis fall down on people like they get avalanche?
Well, it depends on how long it's been there, because if it's one of the ones like this, my prediction is if you're walking on top of it, depending on how heavy you are, you can fall through it, therefore causing it to fall down on top of you. So that would probably not be a very good thing to happen. Yes, Gavin?
Like how tall do you think that is?
Well, so the man is probably a few feet away, and he's probably like 5.5 feet, so it's probably like 8 or 9 feet tall. Any other questions about the quotes, the explanations? Okay, so I connected this text to text number 1, so if we could all get that out. So if we turn to the back,
It might be a little hard to do this, so maybe I can, pull that up for you. I just want to talk about it for you, and I'll actually try to pull up the image for everybody.
okay. So in text number 1, in the back side, if we are all there, this is a picture of the, well, it only shows 4 men, but in the text on the back page, it says that there were him and his 4 companions. So this is them after they have just planted the flag and admiring it because they have finally reached the pole, and this is such a huge accomplishment to them. Okay. Any questions?
Sorry, you do have some questions, it'll be up in one.
Okay, Jack?
Was that like a question or was that just a detail?
No, it was just me connecting to how the other texts, how they all come together to really form this whole story for us.
And which image was it again, now that I have them up
It
here?
was the second page, like the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
So that picture up here, this is him and 3 of his companions, although there was 4, after they have just planted the flag, which is them standing back and admiring their work because this is them finally reaching the pole. Averanda?
How does them reaching the pole relate to the Sastrugi?
Well, it doesn't directly relate to the Sastrugi, but this is the weather that they faced while they were getting to the pole, and this is them finally having accomplished it through the harsh weather conditions that they traveled through. Renan?
So you're saying that it was more harsh weather conditions than the stress?
Well, the Sastrugi and the blizzards that they have faced, and the text about Scott, which is a blizzard that he faced. We don't necessarily know if Amundsen faced any huge blizzards like that, but he definitely faced some harsh conditions because of like the cold and stuff. Okay, so if there's no more questions, I'm gonna pass it on to Haley.
Thank you. For the text, I'm also doing text number 7, and my question was, how did Amundsen show his gratitude to Hansen? And my first detail was in lines 11 through 12. It was, the plan we found best to work in these conditions was to let Hansen's dogs go first. This detail shows that Hansen had a big part in reaching the pool and helping them plant the flag. And so, in my second detail was, this was an unpleasant job for Hansen and for his dogs too, but it succeeded and succeeded well. That was, the detail also showed that Hansen was a big part of his health food, but,
What line was that?
oh, it was in lines 12 through 14.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. This detail also showed that Hansen had a big part in reaching the goal, and he worked hard, even if it was not easy. And does anyone have any questions? Okay. My third detail in lines 33 through 34 was, it was Hansen's neck grew twice as long as before, and his beaver maybe a few inches further. This detail shows that Hansen was working very hard to look ahead through the blizzard to see if there were any more challenges or anything to reach. I connected these details and that Amundsen showed his gratitude towards Hansen by explaining a lot how much Hansen did for the crew and the journey to the South Pole. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah.
Were they facing a blizzard?
Yes, they were also facing blizzard.
Okay, because I didn't know if there was like, you didn't have like, there's a lot of fog, or there's a blizzard.
Like, wait, what lines were your first detail?
First detail was 11 through 12.
Wait, what, do you think that they were kind of like thinking of Hansen as like a sacrifice on like line 12?
Yes. They were probably thinking of him, and he probably wanted to, if he would die doing it, he would be helpful to him. Yeah.
On the last detail lines, on line 33, when Hansen's neck grew twice as long, that one, I don't understand, why did he do that?
He wanted to look ahead to see if there were any more challenges to face, or that they can see where they were going.
Yes, so something that I want to jump into, I think that detail, I think that line, I always wonder why nobody asked me about that line when we were reading it. To say that his neck grew twice as long as before, it's not a literal statement, right? So Haley, how did you explain it again?
That Hansen was trying to look ahead, and he was working hard so that they would
So
see
he's
if
like
there's anything.
stretching his neck, right? But it's not actually literally growing twice the size. So we've got kind of like a hyperbole there, right? An exaggerated statement. Jack, does that help you to understand better? Okay. Yeah.
That's all I have right now, so,
Yeah, so I did text 8, and my question was, okay, so my question was, how did Scott and his team know for sure that the Norwegians made it to the South Pole first? And my first detail was a back flat on lines 13 to 16, which was the second paragraph. A black flag tied to a sledge bear near the remains of a camp sledge tracks and ski tracks going and coming, and the clear trace of dog paw prints. And then I did like a dot to wait, did I? One sec. Yeah, and it went to many dogs. This told us the Norwegians made it. He made it us the whole story. The Norwegians have foretold us and are first at the pole. And I explained this detail by